Dracula. This movie was a big deal. Dracula is from 1992 and it lasts for 2 hours 8 minutes. It's so long. The movie stars Gary Oldman as Dracula. It stars Winona Ryder as Mina Harker. And it stars Keanu Reeves as Jonathan Harker. And Anthony Hopkins as Professor Van Helsing. Funny first name, Van. No, his first name's not Van. The movie opens in 1462. We see the Count Dracula saying goodbye to his beloved wife, Elizabetha, as he heads off to war with the Turks. Yeah, and then during the battle, right, she gets a letter saying, Dracula, your husband's dead, and she can't go on without him, so she takes her own life. But he's not dead. It was a ploy by his enemies. Oh yeah! But he returns home victorious from battle and finds his beloved Elizabetha, and he can't handle this. So this is in a church, by the way. He denounces God and gives himself to the spirit of evil. Yeah, something like that. This movie's so long, by the way. It's not. We've watched longer movies for this channel. Yeah, but this just feels really long. The vampire bits are cool. Alright, we cut to over 400 years later, 1897. Oh, cool. Gothic stuff. And we're in London now. We see an insane asylum, as it was called then, and we focus on one patient. Yeah, Renfield, right? Renfield, he's like eating spiders and eating flies and stuff. He's a creep. That he's the last guy who had a meeting with Dracula in person. He's come back to London from his meeting and he was committed to this psychiatric hospital, to give it its proper term. So now Renfield's boss sends another employee to go and meet Dracula. Great idea after what happened to Renfield.
Learn from my mistakes.
Yeah, he sends Jonathan Harker, a young up-and-coming businessman. Yeah, it's real estate. This Dracula, this mysterious figure, is trying to dye some properties in London. That he lives in Transylvania, so somebody has to go and meet him. Send an email. There's no emails. Phone him. You can't phone him. There's no such thing as phones. Oh, write a letter. Carrier pigeon. Well, they could have done that, but... Anyway, Jonathan Harker travels to Transylvania. What a travel this is. He meets ghouls. He gets chased by, like, mad creatures. And he's left stranded in the middle of woods. Well, this is just great! He says goodbye to his fiancée Mina. He says, I won't be gone too long. He will. And he eventually arrives at Castle Dracula. Yeah, and Dracula himself opens the door.
Welcome to my home.
And he's like, come in, I am Dracula. Well, and this Dracula, right, look at him, he's so weird. He's got a dun on his head. He doesn't have a bum on his head, it's just the way his hair's shaped. It's a dutton. This section of the movie is pretty cool, with Dracula looking like this. He's weird. Strange things happen in the castle that you might not pick up on the first time you watch the movie. Things like when Dracula moves, his shadow might move a few seconds after him. So Jonathan and Dracula have a chat, they discuss real estate. Yeah, they've got an overhead projector. I thought this was like 1892 or something. Overhead projector? They seem to have some form of, yeah, overhead projection. Jonathan closes the deal, he sells the properties. Yeah, Dracula's down a few houses in London, even though to anyone looking, he looks about 99 years old. What's he going to do? Well, he's got his reasons. Evil reasons. Dracula finds a locket that Jonathan dropped. Yeah, it's got a picture of Nina, right? It's got a picture of Nina, and Nina looks exactly like Elizabetha.
What a coincidence.
And then Dracula tells Jonathan, by the way, you're staying here for a month. No idea why. Yeah, I don't know why either, but he says, you'll stay here with me for a month, I won't take no for an answer. Take no for an answer, Nate. I'm going home. I've got to feed my fish. So Mina spends most of her time back home with her friend Lucy, and they look at dirty pictures. Yeah. But Lucy has a dirty mind. No, Lucy has 3 suitors who want to marry her. Yeah, and she's plain and all. One is called Quincy. Yeah, she refers to him as the Texan.
A Texan?
That's his defining characteristic, that he's from Texas. Another one is Jack. Yeah, he's a doctor.
My poor little doctor.
He's a doctor at the insane asylum where Renfield's a patient. Yep. And the last is Arthur. Who's a lord?
Lord Arthur Homewood.
I wonder who she'll choose to marry. A lord, a doctor, or a Texan? A lord, or anyone else on earth?
I wonder.
By the way, what's the narration in this movie? Well, the original book Dracula, it's all told in the form of diaries and correspondence. Really? Yeah, so the first few chapters I think are from Jonathan Harker, and then it cuts to Mina, soon to be Harker, and then it's Van Helsing, and then it's, I think there's maybe a chapter by Dracula himself, or a ship's captain from later in the story when they go on a ship. It's really, really boring. It's not boring, it's just, it's necessary, and it's part of the tradition. Fine. So back in Transylvania, Jonathan Harker is shaving. Dracula says, come here, I'll help you. And he cuts himself. Yeah, and Dracula, subtly, not so subtly, licks the razor blade like a wee weirdo. He is a wee weirdo. He also goes mental when he sees a mirror. Yeah, he smashes the mirror, and then he leaves the room. Jonathan realises he's prisoner because he looks out the window and he sees Dracula on the wall, right, clinging to the wall like sliding on, and then crawling along the castle walls. What? Just jumped out the window, mate. Jonathan heads to bed. He can't sleep, and then three beautiful naked ladies come in and try to seduce him. And he's like, oh no, please don't. He doesn't put up much of a fight, to be fair. Well, Dracula scurries in, and he yells at the ladies, leave him alone, he's mine. And then he distracts them. He distracts them by feeding them a day. What is this movie? How is this such a big hit? It was massive. At the time, you couldn't move without seeing posters or adverts for Dracula. And there was even, like, songs to do with it. Really? Like what? The Nuts Are Nash? No. Love Song for a Vampire was one. Rubbish. Back in London, Lucy picks her suitor. Did she pick the Lord? She did pick the Lord. Of course. And then we cut to a ship on raging seas. And this is Dracula being transported from Transylvania to London. Yeah, the ship, they'll take a few weeks to reach London, because it's back in the day. Yeah. And the shipmates are all speaking about something evil on board. The crew start going missing one by one. Yeah, by the time it reaches London, it's empty. There's no crew left. And then one figure leaves the ship. A wolf! Yeah. You see, Dracula can take on the form of a wolf. What? And bats and rats and all sorts of things. What? On the same night the boat docks, Lucy sleepwalks out to the massive garden in her home, and she comes to meet Dracula. Yeah, he's a wolf man, and she has her chest exposed, and he's like, I don't know what he's doing to her, that he's on top of her. And then Mina realises Lucy's gone sleepwalking, so she goes out to find her, and the wolf man just runs off. Yeah. And they think nothing of it. The next day, Mina is out in the streets of London. Yeah, and she meets this handsome young man, Dracula, out in the sunshine. Yeah, good point. He's out in the daytime. I don't think that's ever explained, is it? But anyway, he's out in the daytime. He meets Mina, pretends to be a lost tourist and asks for directions. Yeah, and she's instantly charmed by him. And she agrees to go on a date. Jonathan who? Now we find out Lucy was bitten by this wolfman thing. Yeah, so she's getting worse every night, right? It's only at night. She seems to be recovering every day, but then at night time she's just getting worse and worse and weaker, and no one can figure out what's going on. So the doctor writes to his esteemed colleague, Dr. Van Helsing. Yeah, and Van Helsing rushes to London. He checks out Lucy. He sees what's going on instantly. He knows the score. Yeah. In Transylvania, Jonathan risks his life trying to escape the castle. He nakes it. Down the castle wall somehow. And he nakes it to a nunnery. And then the nunnery write to Nina, and they're like, listen, find your fiancé. He's close to death, but he's alive. He wants you to come and see him. She is preoccupied though. Yeah, she's too busy gallivanting with this handsome young Dracula. Going to dances and nightclubs and all that. And sinning well, plays. Yeah, all sorts. Van Helsing tells Mina, listen, go and be with Jonathan. It's the best thing you can do. Don't spend any more time with this dude.
Someone had to tell her.
Yeah, so she goes to Transylvania and they get married. Congratulations, he looks awful. And on that same night, Lucy is finally killed by Dracula. Yeah, because you see, every night he's been coming in and taking a little bit of blood, just for a taste.
Just a wee tipple.
And then tonight he finally killed her.
At last, so...
So they have a funeral that very day for Lucy, and that very night, Van Helsing takes the Doctor, the Texan, and the Lord to Lucy's casket. Yeah, they open it up, and it's empty. So they all hide, because they hear something, and Lucy appears, and she's coming towards her casket. She's carrying a toddler she's going to eat. Yeah, this is a dark movie. Well, it is a dark story. Yeah, this is really mental. Van Helsing confronts Lucy. He drives her into her coffin without the toddler by using his crucifix. Yeah, she steps back into the coffin. And then he says to the Lord, listen, you're her husband. You should do this. Put a stake through her heart. And then Van Helsing chops her head off, just for good measure. The Harkers return to London. Van Helsing has dinner with them. They speak about Dracula. And Van Helsing tells of all his powers, how he can change into different animals and things. And he can teleport and he can do all sorts of stuff.
That sounds very made up.
He's the first of the X-Men. Jonathan says, well, I sold him some properties. I know where he sleeps. Yeah, so Van Helsing's like, right, let's go. Regulators, mount up. So Van Helsing, Jonathan Harker, the Texan, the Lord, they all go to the asylum to pick up the Doctor. Yeah, on the way there, Renfield leans out the window and he's like, listen, Nina, you'd better get you here because Dracula's coming for you. You must hide. I can't dare to watch someone as beautiful as you be taken by that creature. And then he's killed by Dracula. Yeah. The whole time in this movie he's been going, oh, I can't wait, my lord, my master, you're going to turn me into a vampire. I've been nothing but loyal. And then the last minute he's like, actually, he's a tit. He's not a tit. He's a tit. So the Doctor lets them all in. Mina's there as well. And he locks Mina in a room. Yeah, it's like the least secure room you can find in a psychiatric hospital. That, he locks her in there. And it's an office that's got a bed in it. What kind of office is this? What is he doing with those patients? Casting couch. So the men go hunting Dracula's properties and they start smashing up coffins. Yeah, and then there's this like dulled human dat thing. Dat nan? No, but it's Dracula in the guise of a bat. Yeah, and it flies off unseen and then it goes to the asylum and just gets in beside Nina with no trottling at all. She wakes up, Dracula and Mina have a passionate back and forth. They start kissing, start making out. Yeah. She's really into him. She's saying, I want to be like you, I want to feel what you feel, and see what you see, and hear what you hear, taste what you taste. Yes, he dates her, and he says, I'll give you life eternal. He dates her, and then she dates him and drinks his blood. It's all very weird. But the lads burst in, they see Mina making out with no one. The nurse thinks she's crazy. Well, no, they just can't see Dracula. But then he reveals himself to them, and he's the big bat creature thing again. Yeah, and they corner him, and he turns into 1,000 rats and scurries off. Yeah. I mean, maybe they should just start taking out the rats one at a time. And then maybe when Dracula reforms, he'll be missing a leg or something. Good plan. I've thought about this too much. So surely now they'll kill Nina. No, they just tell her to go to sleep.
How is that fair?
Dracula flees London because he knows the game's up. He gets back on the ship and heads back towards Transylvania. Yeah, and the guys think, right, we can cut him off. He can get there faster if they take the trains. And I don't know how they're getting across the water on trains. No, but they've managed to get to Transylvania at about the same time as him. Yeah, they're ready to cut him off and kill him. They also take Mina along because Mina has been bitten, so she's kind of got an insight into where Dracula is, what's gone through his mind and all this. Yeah. Psychic towers. They make it to Castle Dracula. When there, Mina turns on Van Helsing. Yes, he gets, I think it's a little communion with her. I think it is a little piece of biscuit, basically. Yeah, and he just uses that to darn her head. That'll teach you. Well, and then they're confronted by the three brides of Dracula, or who they are. The three beautiful women who are naked earlier. You're an entertain. Yeah, you do. Yeah. And they just use fire to scare them off. Yeah, and then Van Helsing just beheads them all and throws their heads down a cliff. Now Dracula's been brought back to Castle Dracula in a carriage. He's got a loyal band of travelling companions who are with him. They are paid to guard him and to transport him back to the castle safely. So there's a bit of a running battle between these servants of Dracula and our band of heroes. Yeah, and it's a big fight, and there's like carriages and horses and all this, and the Texan gets stabbed in the back. But our heroes fight off the helpers of Dracula. Yeah, and it's almost sundown, so the doctor makes it onto the carriage roof, opens up the coffin just as the sun goes behind the last cloud. So Dracula jumps up, the doctor cuts his throat, and then Dracula throws him out an aisle. The Texan runs up, and even though the Texan was stabbed in the back, he's still alive. He runs up to Dracula, uses a ceremonial dagger, and stabs it into Dracula's chest. He also gets thrown about a mile. Again, Mina tries to defend Dracula. She points a gun at Jonathan, and she says, "Is this what you're going to do to me if I turn?" And Jonathan says no, but clearly yes. The Texan has used up all his energy. He dies. Yeah, sorry Texan. Mina and Dracula retreat inside the castle, under the crucifix, at the site of where Elizabeth died at the beginning of the movie, and dies. Yeah, but then he returns to handsomeness, and he wakes up. He might just pull through, folks. But then Mina plunges the knife further into his chest. And then she kisses his dead body. Yeah, and then cuts his head off. Die, Dracula. His spell is lifted. She is free. Her burn mark is gone. She's no longer any kind of vampire. Yeah, sure. And that's the end of the movie. The vampire bits are really cool. The big dat thing is scary. It's really creepy in places. That they're so natural that it's just long and boring and just like, oh, come on, get to the point. Well, not everything can be action or horror or scary stuff. You have to have a rest in films, and you have to build a good story, which is what this movie does. Just cut all that out and get into the vampires. So not for you, not really. Well, I enjoyed this. Hit like, hit subscribe, watch another video. We'll see you next time. Blue!